Hi, and welcome to the Firehouse Center for the Performing Arts. My name is Tanya Wolfen. I am the chair for the board for the Newburyport Chamber of Commerce, the Greater Newburyport Chamber of Commerce, and also a local business owner. So I want to welcome everybody here. We are actually a little bit socially distanced to make sure that we are good to go, and welcome to everybody streaming at home, and also welcome to those who are going to be checking out the recording, because this recording is going to live in a few different places. It's going to be in the newsletter that the Greater Newburyport Chamber puts out. It's also going to be pinned to the top of the Facebook page, and it is going to be on our website, so you'll be able to check it out in all these good places. So it will be a fireside chat. We'll imagine the fire, right? So it's very casual atmosphere.
It's very warm up here.
It is warm. The lights are crazy warm. So Nate Allard, our president for the Greater Newburyport Chamber, is going to be the hosting our fireside chat. And we do have two amazing candidates, which we're very, very lucky to be able to vote for two great people that are going up for the mayoral position for Newburyport. So what we're doing is doing 20 minutes, and we've got Sean Riordan is our first up, and Charlie Tontar has agreed to be sequestered so that all the answers are fresh. And he has also agreed to not live stream it, because this is being live streamed right now. So Nate, take it away. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanya. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome again to the Firehouse. Thank you for having us. We are 3 weeks away from this mayoral election, and we've compiled a list of about 10 questions. We have about 20 minutes to answer those said questions, so we're going to get right into it. First up, we have Sean Riordan here today. Sean, what's up, man? How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
This is great.
First, thanks for having me. Congrats on being named president. I think that's come out the last couple of weeks. I think the chamber's in a good spot. I think you really have brought in some great people, and I look forward to hopefully working with you a lot more.
Yeah, no, it's been really exciting. I feel if elected, we should have some sort of TV series here.
Sure, yeah. This is the first of many. I think.
Right.
I think that we should get going on.
That's great. So let's get a little background from you. Why did you decide to run?
Yeah. Well, it's a great question. This is something I've always wanted to do. I grew up here. I think most people who grew up with me will say, I think from 5 years old, they knew you were going to run for mayor someday. So
great.
It's just something that I've just always wanted to do. I went back to school for my master's in public administration when COVID hit last year, thinking that would be a great addition to my already, I think, solid resume and experience that I could bring to the mayor's office. I've always tried to be involved in my community. I grew up with firefighters and teachers in my family who served the city. So I saw their public service, and I've always wanted to do more. I was on the Parks Commission for a few years. I was involved with the Port Pride campaign to get our new Breads and Hands school. I was involved with the senior center, and I was involved with the James T. Stalin Field that got renovated up at the high school. So I think all these public service initiatives that I was able to jump into, I knew I'd want to be mayor someday. I just knew it. And so when the school committee position came up a few years ago, I thought it was a perfect fit. I've worked with schools. I was a teacher here in Newburyport and Triton for a few years. Got on the school committee. My professional background, the past 16 years, I've worked with municipalities all over the Commonwealth and really all over the country with school districts and building their budgets, negotiating contracts. And those are all skills that I'm looking forward to bringing to the mayor's office. But yeah, honestly, I'm a guy who grew up here and just really wants to do a lot of good here in the city. Yeah. I have 3 kids currently that go to school here. My parents still live here. My wife is from Newburyport as well, and her parents live here. And we're just incredibly invested in the city. I think we're all living here for a reason. Newburyport is a wonderful place. I think we can make it even better. And I just think after 12 years under the current mayor, I think we should want a fresh perspective to come in, see how we're doing things all over across the city, across the departments. How can we build consensus better, and how can we really bring a lot more voices to the table? I think we have an incredible amount of expertise here in the city and people that would have a lot to contribute. So I'm hoping, by becoming mayor, I'm going to inspire some of those people to come forward and get involved. And, I think that we can do a lot of great things here in Newburyport.
Yeah, that's really great. So Newburyport is poised for success. To continue the Build Back Better from the pandemic, the city needs a strong leader with effective management skills. Can you provide some sort of anecdote to maybe exemplify the management style and your effectiveness?
Sure. Well, I'm definitely someone who likes to have a lot of voices around the table, so I like to build consensus. I'm not a top-down manager by any means. And I think my stops along the way, when I've had direct reports for sales teams here in the Northeast, again, I'm the kind of person that is there when you need them, very responsive. Right. But I think you also have to be really strategic in how you plan out, and part of that, especially with public organizations, is just bringing the right people to the table. It's about building effective teams. So what I just mentioned prior, after 12 years, I think we need to take a look at how we're doing things across the city, how we're doing things between departments. I think departments want to collaborate a lot more on bigger issues in the city, and I think we can absolutely do that. So again, definitely someone who wants to listen to people, who wants to get all the information that they can as far as how we move forward on initiatives. And once you get that information, then I think you've got to make a decision, and you have to build that consensus and push it forward.
Right. That's great. So this is really based on overcoming challenges here. The city's budget is significant, but the list, of course, is long. What are some hurdles that you recognize going into the position, and what would be next best steps?
Well, is that it? Okay. There's always hurdles. I think money probably solves everything. If the money was unlimited, I don't think we'd have as many problems as we do. So I think when you're electing mayor, you're really electing a priority list. So again, I've made it pretty clear throughout my campaign that I want to check off some of those boxes that have kind of been ignored the past 8 years, for sure. Neighborhood infrastructure, streets and sidewalks, I'm hearing that every other door. It's by far the #1 issue I'm hearing. And I've been knocking on doors since April, talking to people. And I just don't think it's been a priority, the past 8, 12 years. So, I'm committing to making that a priority. I think we need a more transparent process. I think we need to have a schedule where we're addressing, whether it be wards 1, 3, and 5 one year, and 2, 4, and 6 the next year. But I think to maximize the resources that we can put towards streets and sidewalks, I think we have to have a plan, and then we have to, in those wards, do the best job we can by knocking off as many streets and sidewalks, because that list is getting bigger and bigger every year. Yeah. And it's just funny, and it's not unique to one ward. I do think there are some wards in town that feel pretty neglected from City Hall in some neighborhoods. I was thrilled that the Phillips Drive bond came through a couple weeks ago. That's a neighborhood that's been dealing with that for 20 years. But there's a lot of neighborhoods like that have issues that they feel like they haven't been getting addressed. And I think when it becomes a safety issue, when you're talking about sidewalks, if we have sidewalks in town that you can't walk down, or a disabled person can't use, or you can't push a stroller down, I think that's a huge issue. And again, I think it's a priority list, because I think we've chosen to divert funds in other places, but I think the time is now to kind of, get some of these neighborhoods back up to speed. And again, we all pay taxes here in town. I think that's a quality of life issue when you're talking about streets and sidewalks and safety. And I think it's paramount for that to come from City Hall, and it has to be someone who's willing to put that as a priority.
Yeah, that's great. So there is a climate resiliency plan that is about 190 something.
I was going to say, I'm sure you've read it cover to cover.
It's pretty lengthy, yeah. I joke about briefly touching upon this plan. What do you think is needed now? And, how can we continue progress towards this plan?
Yeah, well, I think again, that plan was an incredible process. I really commend Mayor Holliday for putting those wheels into motion. Again, that was a lot of different stakeholders in town, and again, a lot of expertise that just volunteered to get involved with that plan. So it took 5 years and just came out in October 2020. Yep. So there's a lot of great information in that plan. And some of the things that we've already done, protecting the water treatment plant down by the river was one of the things that was prioritized in the plan, so we're doing that. I still think we need to work with National Grid and work to protect that on Water Street as well. I think we all saw what happened in Texas last year when they had a massive storm and their water and electric were compromised. And it can be devastating. So, I think you have to continue to prepare for those things, and I think the Climate Resiliency Plan lays out a lot of those things. Another thing they talk about in there is protecting our water supply, working with West Newbury. I think the water is a big sticking point here in town. I think a lot of people, again, having grown up here, my parents and grandparents growing up here, the quality of the water in town has been talked about for a while, but even just protecting it. And then I think one of the things that we need to really look into is how can we tap into a neighboring community's water supply, just in case. Right. Now, do I think that's something that has to happen right away? No, but I think that's something that we need to work on for sure. And, again, when you're talking about, climate resiliency and storm surge and, flood plans and things like that, it's nice that this plan isn't put in place. So I think, as mayor, you have to look for ways to kind of put that plan into action. And again, that fits into the piece, streets and sidewalks fits into the piece, and working towards those ways to mitigate the, effects of climate change is a piece as well. Yeah, so again, it's a priority list and seeing how can we better adapt. And I think it is a question about adapting, for sure. You talk about Plum Island. That's another neighborhood that feels pretty neglected. Reservation Terrace. I mean, they're dealing with some pretty significant challenges right now, and those are man-made challenges too. So I mean, I think that's why as mayor, you have to look for ways to support those people. Because it has been challenging for them, and that's not something that they had a choice on. The Army Corps of Engineers changed the jetty, and all of a sudden their beach has disappeared over the last 3 years. So, I mean, again, it's a climate change, but it's man-made as well out there. So, again, it's just making it a priority and looking for the best ways to implement that plan, because it is a pretty thorough plan. They talk about composting a lot in that plan as well. I think that's a great way where, again, we're not taking services anything. We want to keep trash, but we want to limit the amount of trash. And so what better way to do that is promote citywide composting more on a more global level in town. We started it this past year, and it's been an adjustment, but I mean, it's amazing already. Actually, don't look at our trash today. We have a ton of trash today because we did a lot of fall cleaning this past weekend. But typically, it's amazing how much trash is reduced, from a family of 5. So multiply that across the city, and it's just. I think people want to do more, and composting is just one of those ways to do that. Yeah. So I think I gave you a lot for that answer, but
that's perfect. No, that's perfect.
But it's a pretty thorough, like you said, it's an amazing plan, and you can see why it took 5 years to put together. But now it's just how do we put some of those things in that plan to action?
Right. Let's skip over to arts and culture. So we're here at a hidden gem, the Firehouse Center for the Arts. We're a cultural district downtown. We have the Art Association. We have Theater in the Open. What role do you envision arts and culture playing in the future of Newburyport? And, question, how do you believe the city can assist in really realizing that vision?
Sure, yeah, no, well, it's huge, and I think we're a destination because of it. I was joking before I came up here. I haven't been on this stage since I started in Willy Wonka 2 Octobers ago. I was Mr. Salt. And that was a great experience. I did it with my kids and, was acting out in town, the studio in town that put that on. The Bazingas, who are just incredible people, and it was just such an incredible experience, and I plan on doing more of that just because I really love it. But yeah, no, it's a huge piece of Newburyport. I think it brings in close to $5 million each year, just our arts in town, our arts that go along in the town that bring into the city. So it's incredibly important. So one of the main things that I've been talking about is, one, bringing in someone at City Hall who can be a point person for economic development. But I think a part of that role is supporting, our arts in town as well. So it's almost a business, culture, and arts position. Right. That would be the focal point. And again, it's about promoting what we have in town. I think it absolutely brings people in. Like I said, 5 million per year are coming from the arts in town. Yeah. But I mean, I think that can only get better. Only can get better. And I think part of that has to be driven from the mayor's office and partnering with the chamber and then partnering with the different organizations in town around the arts, because again, I think it's unique to Newburyport, and I think it really makes us a destination. And again, that piece fits into, it's funny how all these pieces fit together in different ways, because that piece fits into the economic development piece. It also fits into the affordable housing piece, where we have all these people working around town who might not have places to live. All those things play together in spurring our economy. And again, I think our businesses are a big part of that. I think the businesses are our lifeblood, but also, again, that cultural piece. Again, it's another way to bring people here, and really, it's just, again, being a part of that community, again, being able to be on the stage and feed off the audience, it's just a great experience. And so to be known for something like that, it's just such a positive for the community.
Yeah, I think going a little deeper with that, and touching on workforce development, with economic development, staffing in general. You can walk our streets and see help wanted in almost every window. So the chamber is working with, we have all sorts of regional resources. We've been working with Mass Hire, Northern Essex Community College, our SBA, so to attempt to solve that staffing need. The 3 key categories that we really found that are linked to this is childcare, transportation, and training. So what are some ways that you think the city could help in those areas?
Yeah, so I think everyone's getting affected for this right now. Someone who's grown up working in a lot of the restaurants here in town. I've seen it. I still have a lot of friends in the restaurant industry. A lot of places, if you drive around on a Monday night, aren't open right now because they don't have the staff. I was just talking to, we had an event last night at Bar 25, which is a newer restaurant in town. which was an incredible event. Reza, who's new to the community, reached
Great
out on
guy.
his own. He said he had heard a lot of nice things about me, and he said, I wanted to help. What can I do? And so, I have a new friend, Reza, because of that, and we had a great event last night. But yeah, no, everyone's struggling. So I think there's a lot of things the city can do. I think we're still struggling to come out of COVID a little bit. So, the workforce just isn't there. I think we have a lot of people that just haven't come back. I know when COVID hit, I was working a shift at the Port Tavern, and I decided not to come back just because I didn't want to take a shift from somebody else that really needed it. I mean, that was a part-time job for me, and I wanted to make sure people were able to get back to work. But, things with staffing, so a couple things there. So I think staffing is not only affecting our downtown, but I think it's affecting our business park as well. And I think that's where that affordable housing piece comes into play. And affordable housing, I think, just needs to kind of reverberate through the other departments in town, and I think it starts in the mayor's office. So I think we need to look for as many chances as we can to push some of those projects forward around affordable housing. I think, we have a lot of people commuting into Newburyport right now, and I think the business park as well is struggling with their staffing around that because there's not a lot of places. I think we can look into, adding bus stops too in different parts in town. I know that kind of diminished a little bit during COVID, but I hope that can ramp back up. I mean, I know I've heard that from West End folks, and I've heard that in the business park as well, as having some more opportunities for people to travel into Newburyport for work, for sure. I think that Waterfront West piece plays a part of that because, now we have this plan out there that we're susceptible to a 40B, but it's because we're not at that 10% threshold for affordable housing. So how can we work to get us closer to that? So, we don't have to worry about this in the future, I think plays into it. But I mean, again, it's just having a community where our workforce can live, where our teachers, firefighters, policemen can actually afford to live in town. And then never mind the shop, the people that works in our shop and restaurants as well, because there's just not a lot of places for them right now. So it's a difficult question. And again, we're talking about a community that's 80% developed already. So how do you find those pockets, or how, like the Brown School, I'd like to turn that into senior affordable housing. I think that fits a need in town. But I think that's all connected into the economic development piece and staffing and getting people who can live and work here in town.
Yeah, that's great. My next question is pretty comical. It's just hotel, question mark. So
yes.
Pro, con.
Is that a yes or no?
What options do we have? Are you for this? Are you against
Yeah,
it?
no, I think we do have options. So again, talking again about Waterfront West. So my hopes for Waterfront West, I mean, it's such a crucial part of our waterfront. So I mean, what do we want there? We want something sensible. We want something that fits in to the waterfront.
Right.
So I think the advantage of my candidacy is that I wasn't part of that kind of failed negotiations 3 years ago.
Right.
And they for whatever reason it failed. I don't think the mayor and the city council were on the same page. I think there wasn't a lot of back and forth as far as, I don't think it was really a true negotiation. And the developer got frustrated and walked away. And so we hadn't heard anything for the past 3 years, and now here we are. We're talking about a possible 40B going up there, which I don't think is the right or sensible development to go in there. So where do we go from here? So I wasn't part of that negotiation. So my hope is to bring New England development back to the table. I still want to see a small hotel conference center as part of that. I think that brings year-round business to Newburyport. It's something we sorely need. But again, that's a win for Newburyport. So what's the win for New England development? And that's where I hope I can get them back to the table and find out how else we can make that work. Because I do think that's such a crucial piece of our waterfront. Plus, they own 37 other properties in town, so maybe there's another opportunity to work with them someplace else.
Yeah.
But the big thing is getting them back to the table. And right now, because of the last administration and how things went last time, that doesn't look like that's going to happen. So I'm hoping a fresh perspective can bring them back to the table. But no, it's sorely needed. It's funny, the last week in particular too, I talked to so many people who have been out and about, and I think after COVID, and again, we're still in COVID, but coming out this summer, I think people were so relieved to get back out into their restaurants, seeing people they hadn't seen in a long time. Yeah. Again, and we made it, then the Delta variant came, and it's kind of put things in limbo a little bit, but people are still out and about. But I had so many people, either at the doors or running into me, talk about, God, we were out the other night, it was so great, the place was packed, and then 9:30 hit, and everyone disappeared. Yeah. And a lot of that is people come and visit, and they have no place to stay. Yep. And so they have to, worry about, getting home. So I think the hotel is a huge piece. And I think it's not just a downtown question, too. I'd like to, look at other areas in the town that we can do that. I think the old C&G bus station is a great example. It's owned by Mass DOT, but that'd be perfect to have some sort of hotel there right off the highway. And I think that's an easy collaboration with the state.
Shuttle
I think they'd be all for it.
downtown.
Shuttle downtown. So I think that's another. But again, I think we need multiple hotels. So I mean, I think that would be great for that. And like I said, I'd still like to see a hotel conference center part of the Waterfront West. So again, I think that just takes leadership, and it takes the mayor, being creative and working with these other, different entities in town to get to make that happen.
Yeah. So I just got flagged for our 2-minute warning, so I
Oh,
want to
wow.
skip to the last question here. At this point, I think everybody's familiar with your platform. We've had a few questions answered here today. Election is right around the corner. What's the last thing you want to tell everybody?
I want to tell everyone to get out there and vote. We have less than 3 weeks to go. I'm someone incredibly passionate about Newburyport. I think we have a really bright future. But more importantly, I just think it's time for the next generation of Newburyporters to lead here in town. I actually think it's a really clear choice this election season. I think if you believe that we have a strong future, and you're willing to bring someone to the table that wants to have a wider reach and have different voices get involved, I think it's time for change. I really do. And I think that we've had a good run this past 12 years with the current administration, but I think we need a fresh perspective. And I think going forward, this is the perfect time to do that. Things like Waterfront West, we need a fresh perspective. Our schools, you will not find a mayor in the history of Newburyport that's going to have a better K-12 background than I do in our schools. I've done it for the past 16 years. I'm a former teacher. I come from a family of teachers as well. Very passionate and invested in our schools here in town. And then that economic development and affordable housing piece, I think is really important because I've lived it. I've struggled to live in town in the past, and I've had to work other jobs to stay here, but it meant that much to my wife and I to be here. So I think what we need next is just someone who's going to bring a lot of energy, passion, and a new perspective every day, and I think I'm that candidate.
Awesome. Sean, thank you so much for
Thank
the
you,
time.
Nate.
We're going to take a quick break, I believe, and then we'll be back up here with Mr. Charlie Tontar. So thank you all. Welcome back, everybody. Again, we're here at the Firehouse Center for the Arts. I am here now with Charlie Tontar. Charlie, hello.
Hi, Nate. How you doing?
How are you doing on this fine Wednesday?
It's gorgeous outside.
I know. I wish we did this outdoors today.
Yeah, it would have been nice.
So again, I have a list of 10 questions. We have about 20 minutes. So we're going to try to burn right through them all. Question 1. Let's see here. I really just want the inside scoop of really why, what made you run for me?
Yeah, good question. Because I actually took a lot longer, actually, 6 months longer than either one of the two mayoral candidates, because I had to really deliberate on whether I wanted to do it. And I'm going to tell you the absolute truth here. I'm not the kid who wanted to be a mayor. I wanted to be a jet pilot. And that's a dream that died very hard in the 4th grade when I had an eye exam. What really got me into it is two things. One is how critical it is for a coastal community to deal with climate change and resiliency. We have a climate change resiliency study, and I saw the way that I'm chair of the Public Utilities Committee that oversees water and sewer. I saw the way that engineers in the city that work for us get lit up. They were working overtime because their hair was on fire. And so the first point is this is a real threat, right, to us. There's no question about it. Climate change is happening. It's here. It's not something that's only going to affect our grandchildren, and we have to deal with it immediately. And that was the first. The second point is when it became pretty apparent to me that the federal government and state government, to some extent, was taking infrastructure needs seriously. So I think we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity now where we certainly have the needs. I know the needs, all right? That's the experience part. I've been doing, city councilor for 8 years. I'm an economist. I know what our infrastructure needs are. I know the challenges, and there is a very real possibility, more than a possibility at this point, that the physical infrastructure funds will be available. So the next mayor, it's just too important for us to have someone who is not familiar with it go into the corner office. We have to be ready on day one, all right, to take advantage of this. So that did it for me. That's the honest to God truth, that the opportunity to step in there and make a difference. That was a challenge, and that's why I got in.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your management style.
Management style, yeah. Actually, I come from the academy, and when you're working with tenured professors, you're working with people who have lifetime jobs. So everything is consensual, right? So and actually I was talking to some department heads a couple months ago about exactly that question, and what they said is, we know you, we've worked with you, and you always come to us and you always ask for our opinion, and I've always done that, all right, because that's the way you work. I always like to surround myself with people who are a lot smarter than me, and get their opinion. And I think it's really important, and I think it's extremely important in the city to recognize the contributions that others make. So I've never been a guy that needs to pound my own chest and say, I'm doing all these things, right? What I like to do is spread the credit around and let people know that as mayor, I very much appreciate their effort and contribution.
That's great. Let's hop over to a question that came in about overcoming challenges. The city's budget is significant, but the list is long. What are some hurdles that you may recognize going into the position? What do you think the next steps?
On the city budget?
Yes.
Yeah, I've chaired the Budget and Finance Committee for 7 years, and what you do when you chair the Budget and Finance Committee is you manage the council's review of the budget. We meet with all of the department heads, and we literally go through the budget line by line, setting priorities. And yeah, there are challenges, and the challenge is Proposition 2.5, right? And actually, Proposition 2.5 creates a lot of discipline for the city, but this is a major challenge that keeps me up at night. Literally, I'm an economist, so if the rate of inflation is 2.5%, and you can increase taxes by 2.5% or so per year, right, you're fine, all right? But if the rate of inflation, given all this infrastructure money coming in, rises to 4 or 5%, right, literally, we're stuck. And the only thing we can do under that circumstance is the state raises taxes and redistributes it. So, I mean, that's at 2.5%. As mayor, I am committed, all right, to staying within the tax levy. I'm not going to, ask the voters in Newburyport to increase taxes over and above the levy. I am committed to following a very conservative fiscal policy for the city. I know how to do it. We have been doing it, and we have earned a AAA bond rating, which is really critical. That is a signifier that we know what we're doing, and Standard & Poor's in this case recognizes that we've been doing it right. And so I'm going to continue to pursue that conservative fiscal policy, and that means there are things that we're not going to be able to do that I want to do, that everyone wants us to do.
Right, yeah. So I know you touched on this a little bit, the Climate Resiliency Plan,
right.
Massive document that came out fairly recently. What is needed now? Can you briefly touch on that?
Yeah, really? Absolutely. In terms of prioritizing our needs, the immediate need is addressing, protecting our water supply. All right, I've talked about the engineers. We hired Tanya Wolfen and I just reviewed that study. It's extensive. It's
200
pages. Yeah. It's long. And they said, they set priorities in terms of the water supply. 80% of our water comes from, the reservoirs, the Indian Hill and the Artichoke reservoirs. And because of the way it's designed, the inlet is down near that little dam that you see from 113. So Tanya Wolfen estimates that, a 1 in 14-year storm would top it, and with CSOs or salt water, that threatens our water supply. So they have recommended a set of ways to address that, and that is my top priority. Again, both the governor, both the state and the federal government, it will make money available, and we have to be ready to take advantage of. I'm on the ad hoc committee that decides how to use ARPA funds. I'd like to go to a design stage, so when that money drops from the federal government, immediately we're first in line.
That's great. Let's hop on over to arts and culture. So, how do you, what role do you envision arts and culture playing in the future of Newburyport? How do you believe the city can really, rebrand that vision?
So 5 years ago, all right, I served on the committee that did the economic development chapter of the master plan for the city, and we went through a long process. And I did some economic analysis, and you'll see that 5 years ago, what we recommended is the city should brand itself as an arts, culture destination, all right? And so, again, that's a high priority for me in terms, I think it's really critical that we continue to have a healthy, vibrant downtown. And I don't say that just here before the chamber. I say that out in the neighborhoods. All right. And I think the way to do that. I mean, look where we are, the Firehouse Theater. Right. And so what I know as an economist is in this market, shopping is not. I'm a guy, so when I shop, I go in and get out. Right. Generally speaking. But shopping is an experience. All right. It's not just people. Aren't going to come to Newburyport because they want to buy a shirt. They want a holistic experiment. They might get gelato and window shop. They might come to the Firehouse Theater. They might come here to listen to music. Right? They might come here to go to the Newburyport Art Association. Right? So you have this set of amenities that we have that draw people here, and I think we need to double down on it. All right, I think that's important. I know the current administration has applied for a grant that would help us. I think we'll find out shortly before my administration. We'll find out whether or not we get that grant. It's important to have a lot of continuity between this administration and the next administration to make sure that we follow through. But yeah, I'm totally committed to branding the city as an arts, culture, and I might throw eco-tourism in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
great. Let's jump into workforce development. You've stated, kind of what you can do downtown.
Right.
Grab gelato. See
right.
Dinner and a show. From a staffing standpoint, you can walk up and down State Street and see that a dozen shops, dozen restaurants are hiring, and they've been hiring. So the chamber is working with regional resources, Northern Essex Community College, Mass Hire, the SBA, to solve those needs. And we have found really three categories linked to this: childcare, transportation, and training. So what are some of the ways the city could help in those specific areas?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Again, all right, in that master plan, this is before the pandemic, we identified the lack of labor supply, is how I would put it, as being a problem, all right, a challenge, right, put it that way. There's no question about that. You've hit, some of the needs. I mean, I think there is the Merrimack Valley Planning Commission that I've worked a lot with is also a tremendous asset, because they get money from the Economic Development Administration, which is federal, and they're responsible, all right, for providing the 15 municipalities in their area with the kind of technical assistance that you're talking about. Also, the mayor serves on the Merrimack Valley Workforce Board, and that workforce board that I've worked at back, at the college when I was more oriented toward helping Lawrence is rightly oriented toward Lawrence and Haverhill, and it's more oriented toward skill development. All right, our problem is different. We need workers. All right, and so there are workers there. All right, that we have a need, and so it's a question of the mayor taking a leadership role in saying we need to connect these two. The workforce board needs to do more than just focus up there, because we can help. The other part, of course, is the Merrimack Valley Rapid Transit. We need to those workers don't necessarily have the means to get here. All right, and so we have to improve that, or whether it be shuttle buses that work with particular employees and that sort of thing. Some of what we're experiencing right now is probably sort of macro. I mean, nationwide, everyone's experienced this. I just saw a report yesterday about the vast number of people left the labor force in August. Right, and everyone's tracking, what's going on, and is that a one-time phenomena? A lot of people are stipulating, with the pandemic, people stayed home and realized, wait a minute, there's more to life than work. Right. But it's hard. I mean, I guess you'd think that. We're hoping that's a one-time experience, a bottleneck, that things will ease out. But we've never experienced anything like this before. So it's hard to predict based on past behavior. But I think. City just received Rapid Recovery Act report. We were one of the municipalities in Massachusetts that applied to get technical assistance. Came in last night, and I have not seen it. Right. But I know it came in. I'd like to get my hands on that. Again, it's another one of those large reports, and that is a detailed plan as to how addressing all of these things. I'd like to get my hands on that.
Yeah. This is my favorite question of the day. Hotel? ? You pro?
I'm absolutely pro hotel. So I'll tell you, 20
what are
years
some options you think?
Options is different. I just want to tell you, 20 years ago, the National Park Service had me and my class do a study on rail trails, because that was when we were considering putting rail trails and the economic benefit of rail trails. And so our study was, not much of an economic benefit, aside from real estate. No doubt that rail trails increase real estate in proximity to them. All right, but in terms of overall sort of what economists refer to as multiplier effects of a rail trail, totally dependent on whether or not there was a hotel, whether or not people stayed overnight. So as far as I'm concerned, hotels is a major is a major need. It's a gap in the city, and I think if we had one, it would improve the local economy. There is Waterfront West. As a councilor, I advocated for a hotel. New England Development did not think that it was financially feasible to work here. They put it at the end of their priorities. As a candidate for mayor, in terms of my priorities for Waterfront West, I still hold, the hotel is a top priority. All right. But can I just talk, a little bit about Waterfront West?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a little careful because we've been engaged in privileged discussions, so I can't divulge too much.
Of course.
But the council got right to the point where 11 councilors, all right, and then the 7 members of the planning board and the mayor all weighed in on the last New England Development Plan. And we didn't like it that much, right? But what's interesting about that is, some councilors said, well, we don't like the fact that the hotel is in phase 7. Other councilors said, well, we don't like the height. Other councilors said, we don't like the mass, the number of units. And we fully expected at that point for the council to get into a discussion of what our priorities were, all right? And so if you have, you need 8 votes on the council, all right, to set. And so I've never been one to let the perfect get in the way of the good. And so if and when we get to that point where we have to make decisions, my top priority still is hotel. Although I got to say the height comes in a very close second, right? And mass, and there's parking. There are a number of issues, but as people involved in that process know, it's going to be a negotiation first within the council and then with NED. I'm also very much opposed to 40B. I think we can fight it, but realistically, for the most part, 40B projects are approved, right? And we know it, they know it. They're things that we can do, but that's our current, and I'm going to stop there.
Yeah.
Right.
Great.
I don't look at if Kaplan at the Shaw Plaza is interested in putting a hotel there. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of hotel. I mean, if you look at the other area, which is along Route 1, that's a possible area that was talked about near the old Empro site.
Yes.
The challenge with that is how do you get there from the highway, and how much of the business is dependent upon easy access from a highway. So to get there, you'd have to get off the highway, you have to drive down Low Street, you have to turn left on Route 1, you'd have to come to this intersection here and do a U-turn and go back. And so, I'm not surprised that they drop back from that, because if proximity to the highway is important, then that doesn't cut it. If that is I think the waterfront is a better placement, all right, because I think then you don't need to be near the highway, because there are other attractions that overcome the dish utility of being so far.
Yeah.
That's where we're at on that.
Getting flagged for our 2-minute warning here, so I'll skip down to our final question. At this point, everyone's familiar with your platform. You've answered several questions here today. Election is right around the corner. What's the very last thing you want to tell folks?
What I'd like to tell you is I think I decided to get in because I think who is mayor for the next 4 years is important for the future of the city. There's no question about that. And I think that the city faces some challenges. And I think to deal with those challenges effectively, we need someone who has the background and the experience to tackle those challenges. I believe I am the only candidate that has that background and that knowledge. I've been on the council for 8 years. I've taken a hard position on anything. I've negotiated. I've been out there. I'm not on the outside. I know what our needs are, and I know the challenges, and I know the solutions. I'm also an economist. That makes me a very unique politician in that I bring that background with me. which I believe is extremely important. Just last night, I was running some economic numbers on Newburyport, because that's what I do. And I think what economists do is we set priorities. All right, we don't talk in sound bites. We set priorities, and I've clearly stated my two major agenda items. One is to address the water system, the water quality system, and climate change in general, because we have to, as a coastal community, we have to think about what we look like for the next 50 years. And the second, all right, is to promote downtown, because it is critical, all right, for the economy of the entire city that we have a healthy downtown. So I would very much appreciate your vote on November 2nd, and I thank you for your consideration.
Charlie, thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, Nate. Appreciate it.
Before we all go here today, the chair of my board, the chamber board, Tanya, is going to come up, give some closing remarks, and some save the dates for the upcoming debates, as well as voting information. Yeah. Tanya, take the floor.
That's great. Thank you for everybody for being here. Thank you for those streaming online and live. Thank you for Charlie and Sean for taking part in our democratic process as well. This is amazing. You still have time to register to vote if you have not registered to vote yet. By 8 o'clock tonight, what is today, Wednesday, October 13th? You got till 8 o'clock tonight if you have not registered. For those of you who registered, you're amazing as well. So you can vote by mail, you can vote absentee, make sure you get it in on time. There are a couple of debates that are coming up. I can't believe I just did that. So October 21st, the Daily News. I need my glasses, this is crazy. Do you have an extra pair? No. So the Daily News, we're going to do a live event with the school committee and the mayoral candidates. And that's October 21st. And October 27th, 7 to 8:30, it's going to be at the Knox School. Storm Surge and Daily News is sponsoring that, and the Daily News is sponsoring October 21st. So Election Day is Tuesday, November 2nd, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just get out and vote, 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 vote. We've got this great privilege. It's a duty for us to do it, and I think we should do it. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.